IVM.
Hi, I'm your host Akhil Handa, Chief Digital Officer at Bank of Baroda. Working at Bank of Baroda, I get to meet a lot of exciting fintech companies and get to discuss with a lot of interesting entrepreneurs in the fintech space. A hotly discussed topic in today's days is the Neobank. And regular listeners will recall a couple of weeks back, we did a similar podcast with Jiten Gupta of Jupiter. Today, we're very excited to have a conversation with another leading neobank, that is Niyo. Sound close enough? And we have the founder, Vinay Bagri, join us. So, Vinay, welcome to Fintalks at Bob Bold.
Thanks a lot, Akhil. Very excited to be here, and thanks for the invite.
Fantastic. So, Vinay, let's start with getting a bit of your background. So, how did you stumble upon this entrepreneurial opportunity of Niyo?
My background started off in FMCG. I was working with a mineral water brand called Bisleri. People used to think, mineral water is called Bisleri. That's how popular the brand was. And from there, shifted to banking. Almost a decade. Same here.
Good.
From there, shifted to banking. Almost a decade with Standard Chartered Bank on both sides of the balance sheet. 5 years in assets, 5 years in liabilities. Joined ING, wanting to do something like ING Direct, which to my mind is a true, branchless bank. Very successful across the world. Fourth largest bank in Australia without a single branch. So very exciting concept. So we thought we'll try and do something like that in India. However, ING got taken over by Kotak. And at that point in time, I was in Bangalore, where there's something in the air, which you try and become an entrepreneur. So after 17, 18 years in professional life, I think Bangalore air got to me, and I got together with Vinay to launch Niyo.
Fantastic. And we'll get to the peak Bangalore scene in a bit. But let's just continue the conversation. So, look, neobanks are coming in, at a very, very rapid pace, and there's a lot of innovation happening in this space. So, how do you differentiate Niyo amongst the pack of the neobanks that are out there now?
Yeah. So, if you look at neobanking in general, we're basically trying to build a differentiated experience layer for the customer and try and create as much value for the customer as possible. So we've launched various products in our journey so far. Started off with Niyo Bharat, which is a product for blue-collared employees. Solving them for their salary credits and several other things. So the whole concept, Akhil, is that we have to bring some innovation to the table for the product to really take off. And in Niyo Bharat, our innovation was that we brought in a virtual account number and IFSC code to a prepaid card. And that innovation, coupled with the fact that this prepaid card spoke to a mobile app which was available in 11 languages, speech enabled. So if you are illiterate for whatever reason, you can still function a full-fledged from a banking perspective, do fund transfer, unlock your card, anything. So you can do the entire banking operation. Beautiful looking app for the blue collar segment. They've never seen anything like this. And naturally, we went on to dominate that segment. Even today, we do around 100,000 users a month in that particular business segment. Similarly, when we moved on and launched our next product, it is called Niyo Global. And again, the innovation there was to be able to give a zero forex product on a debit platform, integrate it so that you are able to provide a real-time currency rate to the customer, and he gets charged. Whatever is swiped anywhere in the world, he gets charged that amount. And you give ATM locators and cut the line. So if you're in Paris and you want to go to Eiffel Tower, you can just book a ticket right on the app and do it. So naturally, it was one of its kind product, saw amazing traction. And now latest is our offering Niyo X, where we partner with Equitas. And the proposition is 007. So, we offer zero forex markup, we do zero commission on mutual fund. And on top of it, Equitas offers 7%. So the value proposition is great. The app looks fantastic. and that's why we are at a scale where we are today.
Fantastic. So it's quite a spectrum. So on one end, you're looking at the Bharat users, and on the other end, you're looking for international travelers and folks who would do forex remittance. So that's quite a spectrum. So how would you place the DNA of the company in terms of, is it a bank orientation? Is it a technology company orientation? Is it a people's business? How do you think about the DNA?
So DNA is tech. Everything else, is it comes from that. So the idea is you build tech, marry it with finance, and we are not banks. Whatever neobank is a very fancy term, but by no stretch of imagination are we bank. We partner with banks to offer our solutions. So, for example, on Neo Bharat, our partner is ICICI Bank.
Right.
So the money, whatever user keeps, everything is with ICICI. We just provide a beautiful mobile app on top of it for that segment of customer. Similarly, for Equitas, the bank is Equitas, but we've got a mobile app which provides a brilliant experience to the user. So we are, if you look at us, we are just a tech company providing a beautiful user experience. So bringing like a little bit of Swiggy and Zomato to banking. Let me put it this way.
Sure. So that's a layer on top of the banking infrastructure, really. So that's very useful, and innovating at the customer's end. And you talked about the Bharat product and the money one. Yeah. How about the forex one? So who's your partner there?
So on the international travel product, we have DCB as a partner.
Right. Okay. And this is available in how many currencies right now?
So it is basically, Akhil, a Visa card. So debit card, you take it anywhere in the world. So practically 150, 160 currencies, whatever Visa supports, you just load it in INR and spend it. It's very easy to kind of experience it.
Got it. Perfect. Fantastic. So now let's just shift focus and get into some details of your traction. So what does success look like for Neo?
So, we measure success on two counts, Akhil. So one is, how many users are you impacting? How many customers are really using your product? And second is, what are they saying about it? So what is your NPS on those products which you're offering? So if you look at Bharat, for example, 2.5 million users use our product. If you look at global, which is international travel, 200,000 users have traveled abroad with our product. And the latest one, if you look at it, which is Neo X, the full-fledged savings account version, there we have around 700,000 users as we speak. We add 7,000 users every day. So it is probably one of the largest digital savings account in the country today.
Perfect. And you also have a sort of an arrangement in terms of a fee sharing with the bank, or how does it work?
So the arrangement with the bank is that we are sourcing the business for the bank, and we do some cross sell together, and that's about. So wealth piece we cross sell, and bank enjoys the bank piece.
Perfect. And in terms of your customer demographics, so now of course you have a shiny app, and it's a fantastic customer experience. So what is the demographic that you see? And it's a very wide spectrum. So I'm very keen on listening to what is the demographic that is most attracted to this.
So if you talk about Neo X, which is our purely B2C product, where we advertise, and you would have seen our ads on IPL and all that. So
I've done that.
Yeah. So there, the 80% of the users, Akhil, are millennials, age below 35, majority salaried, maybe first job, second job, 50% new to credit. I mean, that is what the profile is. So if you were to pick out the single biggest chunk, it will be salaried less than 30 years. That will be the single biggest chunk.
Fantastic. And the idea would be then, as the customer moves on with his life cycle, he grows with it, you keep on adding more products.
Absolutely. That's the whole idea, that, initially he comes with a nice savings account. We anyway have a wealth company of our own. So we, inculcate an early habit of investing. We recently launched a product called Invest the Change, where whatever money you spend on your savings account, debit card, UPI, whatever, we round it off and put it in a mutual fund of your choice. So, just innovate like that, get them into investing. And then later on, depending on what stage they are in life, offer credit and all the products which are suitable for them.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So effectively, you're a master aggregator of sorts, and you have all these product manufacturers, be it a bank or a mutual fund or perhaps an insurance or a products company, and then with the customer connect, you're able to switch the pipes across the manufacturers. Is that a fair way of looking at it?
Yeah, that would be a good way to look at it.
Yeah, yeah. And in this, would you also then see? There's a traditional debate that rages around manufacturers versus distributors, and in the emerging new digital world that we see, where do you think? So today, what looks like a collaboration of sorts between a bank and a neobank, I think at some point will probably look like more of us versus them kind of a scenario, as the proposition starts scaling. So what do you think is the end game here?
Let me take a very good example to look, Akhil, across the world would be Chime. So Chime has been partnering with Bangkok for almost 9-10 years, and it's a mutually beneficial partnership for both of them. And although US offers digital bank license, Chime has continued to operate the way it operated earlier. So if the way our partnership today is with Equitas on the core product, which is NeoX, other ones are smaller, so I'll not talk about it too much. But on the NeoX side, the way our partnership is today, we think it to be very strategic, long-term, beneficial for the customers, and beneficial for everybody here. So I think it should be an end game in itself rather than something else.
Sure, great. So you placed Neo as a tech company, and being in Bangalore, so I think it's a good moment to talk about the tech scene and the hiring scene in Bangalore. So an interesting thing. I just was talking to a friend of mine in Bangalore who runs a tech shop there, and he was telling me that recent conversation he had with his HR person was that there's a candidate who's about to join, and that candidate refused to join, and saying that look, I don't like the location. And he's like, what, you didn't tell him that it is Bangalore that you have to be placed in? So he says, the HR guy says, no, of course he's in fact based in Bangalore, but he doesn't like the fact that he'll have to travel from Bellandur to HSR layout.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably an example of the peak Bangalore tech scene we see.
Yeah.
Right. So how difficult has it been for you to hire?
Yeah. So actually, it's a very interesting for us pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. And Bangalore is always a challenging and a rewarding market. Challenging that, it is always challenging to find a good resource. But rewarding is that probably the best tech talent in the world you will get in Bangalore. So it is like it used to be like that pre-pandemic. So pre-pandemic, our strategy was very simple. That we had an office in one part of Bangalore called Whitefield. A lot of people think it is outside Bangalore, but it is part of Bangalore. And the strategy was very simple, that anybody who joins us on the tech side or the product side can choose a house in some of the buildings we've selected, which have got gym, swimming pool. So like a great lifestyle, which you can never imagine in, let's say, in Bombay, unless you're seriously rich. So,
right.
You choose a house there and 50% of the rent will be picked up by us. So we had like no dearth of people willing to join, hardly any attrition. So it was great time. And then pandemic hit. And then everybody is free to work from wherever they are. And we have never returned to office. Even today, like I'm in office, but nobody else in office. So it's like an empty office to me. So, and what we've seen, Akhil, is that probably the last 1.5 years where we have worked from home has been, from a tech and product perspective, the most productive 1.5 years in Neo's history, I would say. We've launched multiple partnerships. ICICI happened after this. Your IDFC integration happened after this. We launched some product with IDFC, something with SBM. So it has been very, very productive 1.5 years for us. And we are now thinking that maybe this is going to be the way forward. In fact, we are not even asking anybody to come office this year. Maybe we'll not ask them to come next year also. So that is, so that's the thing. So what it does as an advantage is that people can enjoy themselves and not work from home, not have to come to office and get into Bangalore traffic. But the disadvantage is that this whole tech talent, and there are many companies like us who now no longer want people to be in office. So this tech talent gets exposed to the demand from the entire world.
Right.
And that's where we see the salaries and expectations just shooting through the roof in last 6 months. So that's been a big challenge for us to kind of manage those expectations. Now that suddenly the demand market, which was very restricted because of Bangalore traffic and all those problems,
Yeah.
has just completely exploded.
So would it be the right time to find the Miami equivalent of India?
Miami equivalent would mean Akhil.
So now these days there is a move from people who moving from Silicon Valley over to
Ah, yeah,
Miami.
yeah, okay. You're setting down in Miami. Yeah, yeah. So I think Goa is already becoming a new Miami in India.
Yeah.
So people are already, sitting down in Goa and asking boss, are you going to ask us to come to office? Then don't even interview us. We are happy in Goa. So there are two kind of Miamis happening in India. One is Goa, and the second is mom. So everybody wants to be, the young kids want to be close to moms and मुझे मम्मी के पास रहना है, आप यहीं से कर लो जो करना है. I don't want to
Right.
come. I don't want to come and
Yeah.
work in office. So yeah,
That's true. That's true.
it's interesting what's happening.
No, it's a very sizable it's a sizable shift, and there are very interesting undercurrents to this whole change. And I think for founders, for managers, it's becoming very challenging managing the expectations of part of the tech workforce. And given
It is, Akhil, two things. So one is the demand pool is expanded. So it causes pressure on the supply and salaries, etc. But the good thing is that the firms which are willing to be this flexible like us, in long run will gain a lot more than firms who are forcing their employees to come to office. So yeah, we'll see how it evolves. But we think we should be the winners, hopefully.
Sure. No, but the fact that you found the last 1.5 years to be the most productive in the journey of Neo, I think is also testament to the fact that something is working. Because that's not what I hear across the board. There are firms and certainly the more traditional firms. I think there is this and the larger you get, right? There is this serendipity that happens when you have 100 people bump into each other, etc. And I think that element has been missing, of course. The shift has been so dramatic that I think people have had to cope up with it and get used to it. But of course, I think I see both sides of the spectrum. There is one end which seems to be enjoying the current ways of working, and the one which is yearning to get back. And I think the traditional ones will probably get back to work sooner than later. Anyway, so let's now move to your cap table, and I see you've raised about 50 million US.
Yeah.
And you have some marquee names on your cap table, including Tencent, right?
Yeah, Tencent and Horizons came in the last round, and we have Soros and Social Capital earlier, and Prime was the seed fund. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's great. So let's talk about Tencent. So Tencent is a strategic investor. Do they also help you with the tech stack, or just thinking through how the market will shape up in, let's say, 5 years? Or are they more a passive investor, financial investor for you?
Yeah, from a strategic perspective, they're quite happy to let us do what we think is right. What we like about them is that their ability to analyze data, look at engagement metric, and build products that are sticky is a good learning which we've had over the past few years of association with them. But otherwise, they're very hands-off, and they're anyway very small on our cap table, so really doesn't matter.
Sure. Perfect. And with so much capital lying around, are you thinking about inorganic opportunities as well?
Yeah, sure, Akhil. So we did two acquisitions. One last year of a company called Goalwise, which is in wealth management space, and that's how we launched that product. We did one acquisition this year of a company called Index in personal management space, and that product is getting rolled out next quarter. And we are looking at actively looking to acquire some nice fintech companies in the lending space. So let's see how it goes.
Okay. Fantastic. So all the lending companies out there, Vinay is looking for you. Perfect. So overall, last question. So what's the Neo's big plan going forward? How large do you want to become?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Akhil, we are at the current pace, we are acquiring 2 million users a year, 7,000 a day. That's what we are running with. But if I look at, some of the most successful digital banking companies in India, my erstwhile company, one of my favorite companies, Kotak, they are at 20 million odd users, doing really well, 811, fantastic product. Uday Kotak is an amazing person. So we would love to get as close to Kotak 811's numbers as possible.
Sure, perfect. And good. And on that note, actually, you should now also maybe check out Bob World. We've just rolled out our DigiBank, which is Bob World, and it's gotten us some very good reviews. We have had very healthy traction and great feedback. So do take a look at it and
Sure.
give me feedback.
Sure, Akhil. We'll do that.
Perfect. So, look, Vinay, thank you very much for joining us, and it's been a fantastic conversation. Thank you for tuning in, folks. This is FinTalks at Bob World, presented by Bank of Baroda, India's international bank. Hope this series is of help to everyone who listens in. So, do get in touch and send us feedback and suggestions as to what you'd like us to cover in the future episodes. That's it for now. I'm Akhil Handa, and this has been FinTalks at Bob World.
Hey everybody, it's been a great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, Aswin, DJ and Varun talk about Virat Kohli's shocking announcement about giving up the Indian T20 and RCB captaincy. And they review the opening match of the IPL between the Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by musicians Hanita Bhambri and Kevin Fernando, along with Arjun Koladi from Spotify to talk about the shifts in the music space. The latest Cadbury ad remix sparks an interesting thought in Siddharth's mind. Is this a hack by advertisers to cut the clutter, or are they running out of content? Join the Simplified gang, Chuck, Naren, Shriketh and Tony as they discuss why all platforms are trying to be like each other. And on Tere Mere Raste, Keshu takes us to a city known as the Rare Desert Oasis, Bikaner. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. It really does help us. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quota, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and Inter vPro. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Do you wonder why China does the things that it does? Or want to know how we could improve online privacy? Or perhaps you're thinking about how we can kickstart India's economy. If you'd like to search for the answers to such questions, check out All Things Policy, a daily public policy podcast that covers everything from employment figures to aircraft carriers. Tune in from Monday to Friday for new episodes and fresh takes.